The subject of my paper is Ecological Thought of Indigenous Korean Region, Donghak. And my name is Nami Lee, and I'm a researcher at Ecosophialab, which is the research institute that supports ecological activists. And I'm also a professor at the Gyeonggi Cyber University. And let me begin with why this subject is so important. Now we are facing with global crisis, including climate change. So the world is now calling back the wisdom of our ancestors. The traditional ideas of each nation are being re-examined as a philosophy to solve environmental problems. Ecuador and Bolivia. Let us see the next screen. The Ecuador and Bolivia have found the wisdom of indigenous peoples and even enshrined in their constitutions. One of them is Buen Vivir, meaning good life, where humans and nature coexist harmoniously. South Africa also found value in its own traditions, Ubuntu. It has the meaning of I exist because you exist, and I exist because we exist. This emphasizes that people are all connected. Buen Vivir and Ubuntu are attracting attention in Korea as well. If South America has Buen Vivir and Africa has Ubuntu, Korea has Gyeongmul. Gyeong means respect and mul means things. This paper is intended to focus on Gyeongmul of Donghak. Donghak is indigenous Korean religion. Gyeongmul also can be an ecological wisdom to overcome the climate crisis. You can see the leaders of Donghak, the left, the first leader, Choi Jae-woo, and the right, second leader, Choi Si-hyung. According to Donghak, people should respect the three. The one is the respect the God, and second, respect the humans, and third, respect things. The three are the God. God, human, and things are all God. All things have God inside and therefore must be respected. God created all things and is present in all things. So the essence of all things is God. Choi Si-hyung said, people cannot attain the highest level of morality by respecting people. When people reach the point of respecting things, they can unite with the virtue of the universe. Donghak differs from Confucianism in this point. The differences between Donghak and Confucianism is that Donghak insists we must respect nature as much as parents. Okay, let me see the next screen. Another important aspect of Donghak is that it is a heresy, that is, unorthodox religion. At the time, the state religion of Korea was Confucianism. So, revolutionary leader Jeon Bong-jun of Donghak was arrested and executed. You can see the last scene of the Jeon Bong-jun. Confucianism, as we know, Confucianism maintained the ruling power and forced the common people to obey. It was the religion for those who had power and wealth. The idea, but Donghak's idea that everyone has God and therefore is equal, moved the hearts of the common people and created the huge wave of revolution. The world history also shows that religious heresy has become the revolutionary ideology of the oppressed. Unfortunately, however, just as heresy was suppressed in the West, Donghak was trampled on by Korean government and Japanese soldiers as well. Almost 50,000 people were killed by the Japanese army. The reason why the Japanese army killed Donghak believers is that Donghak resisted not only the feudal and discriminatory power, but also Japan, which intended to invade Korea. And after all, the Korea eventually came under Japanese rule. So this paper aims to shed light on the world historical significance of Donghak and its ecological 경물 idea. Next, before talking about Donghak, I'd like to talk about the ecological traditions and lifestyle of Korea. And the traditional life of Koreans were generally ecological, especially the structure of ondol. Ondol is a Korean traditional heating system. It stores the heat and keep the room warm for a long time. You can cook food in the furnace, so cooking and heating are solved at the same time. The hot air goes under the room and heats the floor. The ondol method has been applied to buildings, many buildings of many countries. But since the Japanese colonial era, the land of Korea was ruined, and after liberation by the U.S., also U.S. Army government, military government ruined nature of Korea too. We can. I want to see the the military, the mechanization consequently consumed more energy in terms of labor input per area. The military also that caused that result. Now Korea is starting to pay attention to ecological problems. So we think it is time to look at Korea's indigenous ecological wisdom, especially Donghak. First of all, the important the thing of Donghak is the respect to humans. The Donghak is a religion. So first of all, I will tell that the relations with God. This is very important subject, I think. In Donghak, humans respect God, but at the same time, humans are the same as the God. This is what makes it different from Christianity. The traditional view of human beings in the West is that humans are placed under God. But in Donghak, humans themselves are noble and active beings like God. Choi said, people are God and God is people, and said, so serve people like God. In addition, the God in Donghak is not an omnipotent being like God in the West, but the imperfect being that needs human help and can achieve good only with humans. The God of the East, unlike God of the West, is imperfect. According to Donghak, God relies on humans to achieve harmony, and humans rely on food to sustain life. Therefore, God and humans help each other, and so do humans and nature. Western religious philosophy or Christianity assumes God's omnipotence, so they cannot explain the imperfection of humans and the world created by God, and fall into the dilemmas of facing human non-subjectivity. But Donghak solves this dilemma and grants a subjective role to humans. In addition, when Donghak says that all human beings are noble like God, the category of human beings includes women, slaves, and children who had been ignored. Cheshang said everyone in the world was born by God and peace will be achieved only after the people have respected. As people are the God, people are equal and there is no discrimination. When people artificially divide the nobles and the lowly, it is violation of the God. Also, he said, everyone has special skills and professional abilities, so if you choose the right people, there is nothing you can't achieve. Donghak especially respected women very much. Che Jae-woo said, women are sacred, and adopted one servant girl as his daughter and made another servant girl his daughter-in-law. Also, Che Xiang referred to his daughter-in-law as God. He insisted women are the lord of family and there will be many women who have realized the truth. He said, in the past, women were oppressed, but now, with the faith of this era, many people will be saved by women who have realized the truth. Also, Donghak said to respect children. Che Xiang said, hitting a child is hitting God, and God hates it. He insists, even if it is the words of my wife and children, I will learn what I can learn, and I take as my teacher those who deserve to be my teacher. He said that he sees his daughter-in-law and his children as God and regards his servants as his children. Bang Jong-hwan, son-in-law of Son Byung-hee, the third-generation Donghak leader, declared children's human rights for the first time in the world in 1922 and instituted Children's Day. Considering that children were beaten by their parents even in the 20th century in Europe, this is very ahead of its time. And next, I will talk about the respect all things, respect all living things. Donghak sees not only humans, but also animals, plants, and insects as God. Che Xiang said, how can we say that only humans have God alone? There is nothing that does not have God. The sound of birds is also sound of God. Then we can ask, why do humans eat animals and plants that have God? This is explained as follows. I always said everything is God, then eating anything is eating God. Eating something while saying that everything is God seems to make no sense, but this is a narrow human view. From the standpoint of God, eating is for God to nurture God. Creatures of the same kind help each other to create energy. Different kinds of creature eat each other, which means God is God, and this is to channel energy. Therefore, the same kind nurtures the kind, and the different kinds promote the growth and development in solidarity with each other. According to the above phrase, eating and being eaten between living things is to grow God. However, homogeneous beings do not eat each other, but help each other. And heterogeneous beings eat and being eaten by each other in order to channel energy. Channel energy means combine energy. Homogeneous beings nurture each other, and heterogeneous beings promote mutual growth and development. This is consistent with the theory of biologist Lynn Margulis. According to her, eating and being eaten is not the strong eating the weak, but it is rather to integrate information from each other into one and move on to a more complex species. This is the same as the statement above that the different kinds promote the growth and development in solidarity with each other. In other words, living things eat and be eaten to unite and communicate energy. People often ask, why do you eat cows and pigs and take care of dogs and cats? Don't you feel sorry for cows and pigs? These questions are largely aimed at blaming animal rights activists. For these questions, we can offer Donghak's explanation of homogeneous and heterogeneous relationship presented above. In other words, humans can eat animals that are different from themselves and do not eat animals that are close to themselves. And dogs or cats are so close to humans that humans shouldn't eat them and caring relationship with them. Cows and pigs are more distant than the dogs and cats, and birds such as chickens are more distant than cows and pigs, and plants are more distant than animals. I think this would be good logic for vegetarians. It is natural for species that are close to each other to take care of each other rather than eat each other. Moreover, according to Margulis, eating and being eaten by members of the same species is not conducive to evolution. Eating and being eaten by different species increases genetic diversity and complexity. Eating and being eaten by the same creatures sometimes becomes a disaster like mad cow disease. One cause of mad cow disease is that cows ate cow byproducts. After all, according to Margulis, the birth of complex creatures like humans is the result of eating and being eaten by different species before humans. When one creature eats another, the eaten creature does not disappear, but retains its function within the predator's body. The eyes of animals were originally dependent creatures, but when they combined with the other creatures, they became the eyes of them. These combined creatures have more sophisticated functions. Solidarity means to unite with others without losing one's uniqueness. And it is very surprising that Choi Shi-hyung explained eat and be eaten with these very terms of solidarity without knowledge of modern science. According to Donghak, no matter what people eat, the nature of what they eat does not disappear. Margulis said the same thing. Donghak also argues that human became human through eating by other species. Humans did not become human simply because they were born as humans. They became human by eating the nutrition of grains and fruits. Grain is the food given by heaven and earth, and the people can eat it and exercise spiritual power. Therefore, God depends on humans and humans depend on food. We human beings who live according to the principle that God is God should give thanks to God. Only then can all things in the universe harmonize and communicate with each other. In other words, people becomes human only through the food provided by God, and the food provided by heaven and earth is also God. In Confucianism and Christianity, humans are said to be the Lord of all things, but Donghak is different from this because humans became the master of nature, not because they were inherently excellent, but because they ate the life given by heaven and earth. Also, humans ultimately become food for nature. Jang Il-sun, the ecological activist, in particular reminds us that Jesus called himself bread and told us to eat his own flesh. It was said that Jesus being born in a manger meant that he even came as a food for animals. According to Jang, Jesus came not only for human beings, but for the sake of the entire universe. In other words, he said, he came for the true freedom and peace of all things. Therefore, the act of eating and the desire to eat and eating deliciously are sacred because they are all caused by God, God's response. Choi said, God relies on people and people depend on eating, so knowing all things lies in eating a bowl of rice. Finally, I want to talk about the respect all things. People and all things can and move because of the light. The Hongdae-young before Donghak said also the same thing, but I want to skip that, and I want to talking about Donghak. Donghak saw the earth as alive and further said that it should be respected. According to Donghak, all things have God and must be respected. People can reach the highest level only when they respect all things. According to Che, people cannot reach the highest level of morality by respecting people, but can be reached that level only by respecting things. Following phrase is the famous saying by Che. Everything that fills the universe is the mixed energy, so you should not dare to take even one step rashly. One day, a child was walking fast in clocks, and the sound made ground shake, and I stood up in surprise. And I said, my heart aches at the sound of clocks. Respect the land as if it were your mother's flesh. Also, Che told people not to spit on the ground because this is the same as doing it your parents' face. He said, all things are our brothers and sisters, and that sun and moon are also living beings. Most ecological theories in the West do not see non-living things as life. However, Donghak emphasized that everything is God and all things in the universe are connected with one energy and one heart, showing an ecological sort of different approach from the Western dichotomy. At the same time, the viewpoint of modern science supports the claim of Donghak. Margulis argues that soul is not dead. It is a mixture of broken rocks and various microorganisms. Organisms are communities that exchange information and energy with other organisms and materials rather than autonomous entity. James Lovelock argues that Gaia theory, that the Earth itself as a living being, uses the evolutionary process of the ecosystem to control its very complex metabolic function. Timothy Lenton warned that if we do not find a way to live more harmoniously with the earth, we will disappear. Now let's go to the conclusion. Currently, the indigenous and traditional ideas of each nation are being re-examined in order to solve environmental problems all over the world. For example, Ecuador, Bolivia found the ecological wisdom of the past and stipulated it in their constitutions. In Chile, there is Kume Mongen of the Mapuche people. Korea has Donghak, and it is a moral and ecological religion. By knowing the history of the community, we can know where we stand in history and have a prospect for the future. Those who believe in the possibility of new change tune into a new constant signal of love as they form a group and exchange information with each other. If Confucianism has deep benevolence, Buddhism has mercy, and Christianity have love, Donghak has respect. The teaching of Donghak, which causes changes by respecting all things, shows Korean ecological wisdom and citizenship. And I think it can be contribute to making a better world too. Thank you very much.